Welcome, this is Jim, host of the Faith Influencer podcast, where we're going to dive into discussions on faith's role in everyday life, from navigating blended families to overcoming challenges. I'm a husband, a father, a Bible teacher, an advocate for applying faith to everyday life. So tune in as I share personal stories, valuable insights, and practical wisdom. Welcome back. This is Jim Cunningham, Faith Influencer Podcast. We're the podcast for blended families. So I'm excited to tell you what we got today. I have the guest that I've been after now for a year and a half that we've been doing this podcast, and I finally booked her today. Guess who I have? My wife. My wife, Deana, has joined us for the podcast, and I don't know if she's nervous or not, but here she is. So let me introduce her as we get to tell you our blended family story today. So welcome to my wife, Deana. Finally, you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I feel very vulnerable. I've showed up in a room and taken off all my clothes, and I'm exposed.
Is that how you're feeling?
A little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, you don't look
Good.
that way.
So I wasn't going for that look.
No. You look very comfortable, very professional. I want to tell the audience what we're doing here. So, blended families is a ministry. It's something that I've spoken a lot concerning, of course, on the podcast, but also in different events and things, and then just individuals. But we've never really, I've told our story a little bit, but never included you in the story. And so I really think it's going to help a lot of people to hear both sides of this, because there are two sides, so that those watching know this is not going to be scripted. I did write down some questions, and in those questions, we talked about it only this morning.
True.
So, and we did not give what our answers were going to be. I just gave you some of the questions I'm going to ask so you can already be thinking about them. But I did not protect myself by asking you to answer this way or that way.
So completely unfiltered.
Completely unfiltered. So my blood pressure went up a little bit as I was thinking about this, because you don't know my wife. She loves being unfiltered. And so I'm appreciative that we have an edit button on this podcast, just in case you go too unfiltered.
Could be important.
Which you have done before, but you're looking really good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
You do as well.
I know. People who are watching this for the first time are like, that's your wife? How'd you do that? So it was, God is good.
All the time.
I have a good prayer life. See? And her, well, I'm not even going to go there anymore. So guess what, everybody? Next month, 16 years we've been married.
That's a month.
That's
a month away.
Isn't that next month?
I think so.
That's what I said.
I'm glad you're reminding me.
Wow. So next month in December is our 16th wedding anniversary. Now, why do I bring that up? Because for blended families, that's monumental. Blended families. As a matter of fact, I was at an event this week and out of town, and I was talking to these people. They were asking me about the podcast, and I was talking to them about blended families. And I told them the divorce rate of blended families, and they were like shocked. They had never heard that before, that divorce rates are so much higher than traditional marriages. And so here we are 16 years in. That is amazing. So that brings up my first question for you.
Okay, what I want to say, I think we should celebrate big every year since we've made it this far, like with a big trip or something. You should take me on a golf trip.
A golf trip?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you can go to the questions.
Okay. So you just wanted that on tape.
I did.
So, okay. All right, a golf trip. Which all the guys watching are like, wish my wife wanted to go on a golf trip. So that is a good thing. Usually it's a beach trip, but a golf trip. Okay, let's do it. We're going to have to go to a warm climate though, yes, because December golf trip doesn't work good. So here we are getting ready to hit 16 years. So here's my first question for you. 16 years in, most blended families don't make it that far. How do we do it? How have we made it 16 years?
A lot of prayer and patience.
Prayer and patience. You want to elaborate?
Well, I don't think it's been that difficult, but we do know that blending families has its challenges, which you've obviously discussed on the podcast. So in no way has it been super easy, but we have been able to keep the lines of communication open. I think that's been big.
Well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
No.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
The lines of communication.
Well, I know you communicate.
You do know where I was going with that. The lines of communication in our family, I don't know about yours. This is kind of flipped from maybe most husband-wife relationships in that I'm the communicator. And she tends to be the one who keeps her feelings to herself. So
That's true. I mean, I often keep my feelings from myself. So
okay.
I don't even know how I feel about something until 6 months down the road when I'm triggered about it. And then it brews up something that happened 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So there's a whole separate therapy needed for that. But
Well, okay. So, yeah, so communication, you're saying we've had communication.
Yes.
16 years, how we've made it. That's the question.
I think the Lord, patience, prayer, and I think realistically, we knew that we both had the right heart in our situation. So it wasn't like, I knew deep down, even if we were having an issue, that your heart was in the right spot.
That's good. Well, yeah, we certainly made mistakes in our previous marriages that we were. When we say our heart was right, you're not saying that we didn't make mistakes there, and you're not saying that.
No.
Yeah, yeah. But even when you have the right heart, we can blow it.
True.
Yeah. So
And we have.
And I say that because I'm saying one of the things that I'm always pressing on the podcast is before people blend their families, go to counseling. And we did.
We did.
We sat down with our counselor and walked through and worked through some things. And I'm just telling our listeners it's invaluable because there are so many different rules for blended families that aren't true of traditional families that I think that's one of the reasons why we've made it 16 years is because we figured out the rules pretty quick.
Correct. And I think we've had to redirect along the way, realize this isn't working. Let's change how we're doing this. So we didn't start out perfect at all.
No, and the other thing is, and this is not unique to blended families, but the other thing is that when we came together, we're totally different. But that's a good thing, right?
Opposites attract.
Yeah, opposites attract, and this is good because my weaknesses are not hers and no, wait a minute. My strengths are not and her strengths are not mine. Is that how that goes? So, anyways, we complement each other by being different. So that's a good thing. That's not blended families. That's just marriage. So if your spouse is way different than you, be thankful because if they were just like you, it'd be boring.
You wouldn't like them.
No. So we're so different. But what I find it interesting, here we're talking about blended families, but when we talk about our parents, my father's in heaven now, but they were married over 50 years. And your parents, who are both live about a mile from us, still going strong, have been married how long?
They were married at the age of 15 and 16, and they are 80 and 79 now. Still married.
So that makes them married
60
some years. That's crazy. So we come from a background where our parents long-term marriages. But here we're talking about blended families. And so our background has been a solid example of marriage.
Right. And blended families was something we had never had modeled for us.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that.
Me too.
So yeah, so we had to learn it. I've also told the audience many times that I went and met with Lanny, and again, I'm just throwing in the counseling thing that helped me personally so much when I met with Lanny, just he and I. But we were raised so different, and our parents never went through divorce, but we were also raised different in this way. I was raised in a Christian home, and you were not.
Correct.
And it's kind of amazing to me what I've learned. Now you became a Christian before we came together, but you weren't raised that way. And not being raised that way and not really even hearing about faith so much, living in the Bible Belt, right?
I mean, I would go to church on Christmas and Easter with friends, but that was about it.
Yeah, yeah. So you became a Christian before we got together, so and then was growing, and so we had that, but it's not, we were raised wholly different in that way. But then we blended that together. But you know how much that helped me? Have I ever told you that?
Yeah.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me.
Here's how much that helped me. Is when I went through, and I have a direction I'm going with this line, okay? When I went through a divorce, maybe the most shocking thing, I don't know if that's right, difficult thing for me was how other Christians responded to me. Sometimes other Christians will step on you when you go through something like that, because divorce is oftentimes in church circles the unforgivable, and you could not fathom that at all. Do you remember that?
I do remember. I remember you carrying that so heavily.
Yes.
And it's not that I don't care what people think, but I knew that that was their problem. And they didn't have the understanding. And I was able to shake that off much more easily than you.
I know. You you didn't understand that Christians could be judgmental, because coming from your background where you weren't raised in the church, your friends wouldn't have responded that way.
No, and I think even just with my family, I watched them forgive without the Christian aspect.
Yeah.
And accept people.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't understand how people could be that way.
Yeah.
And wanted nothing to do with them when they were that way.
Yeah.
I had my own forgiving to do.
No, but that helped me a lot, because I was only in the church world. Going through a divorce was, one, I didn't think I would ever be there, but then going through it and the response of the church, when your response was so much more filled with grace, I was shocked by that. I thought that should be my friend's response. Your friends were forgiving and loving, and so it was a different thing. So I think I brought some of that into our marriage for sure, because, and I say this because we're helping some people right now. I've discovered that some of the people who listen to us are people who came from a ministry background like I do, and so I'm speaking to some of you right now because you've asked me to. Is that after I went through a divorce, living in the same area, I would see people from my church or from that background, and I would avoid them.
I recall.
Yeah.
And then after we had our son, I can remember seeing people and watching them peer over at us to get a look at him.
I know.
It was pretty interesting how people acted.
I know. They wanted to see what our son looked like, because here.
And he's a rock star and he's handsome, so I'd want to see what he looks like too.
Okay. Well, so we started off that way. That was in the beginning. That was part of our family background as we're telling our story here. Those were some of the issues that we brought into our marriage that we had to deal with. By the way, one other thing, I could remember wanting to move. Do you remember? We actually went. Yeah.
Date nights were in South Tulsa, not Owasso.
Yeah, and most of the people don't know where Tulsa and Wausau are, but it's a long ways away. We would go on date nights because we just wanted to avoid people that we knew, or I did.
You did.
You didn't give a rip.
What does Craig Groeschel say? Email me at DeanaCunningham.IDon'tGiveARip.com.
Yes, and she didn't care. I did though, because I was coming from that whatever. So, all right, so we bring this is where we're starting this thing almost 16 years ago. Raised different, but bringing all of this together. We've gone through counseling, but that doesn't mean we haven't had our sticky moments. Doesn't mean we haven't had our controversies, because we have. And those of you watching, that's just marriage anyways, right?
True.
But double it with a blended family.
It's compounded.
It is compounded. And all of those who are watching are saying amen. It is compounded. So there are other issues that we're going to walk through here. But I don't know, when I say we've gone through sticky moments, what sticky moments stand out to you? Any?
I mean, most of it probably revolved around the kids. And some of it could have been just more of a protection mode for me, because I brought 2 children into the marriage that we were still raising. Yours were adult children. It was a totally different thing. So I was probably coming in protective mode. Mama Bear wanted to protect her cubs, make sure you didn't do anything to them. And that was never your mission, obviously. But I think you go into it that way. Like, I'm going to protect them from this guy, and it wasn't about that. It was like, we're becoming a unit, and I didn't have to be so defensive, but I know that I went into it that way in my heart.
It's normal, though.
Yeah.
It's normal. And we worked now with blended families for a long time, and it's very normal that you feel that way. And blended families are so different. I mean, you can be a blended family where one has not had any children and they marry someone with children, or both have children and you bring both sets of kids into the household. Or like us, we both have children. We brought yours into the household. Mine were already out. So they all look different. But even in the midst of the differences, those sticky moments around the children are real. They're very real. As a matter of fact, I would say that the number one reasons why blended families get a divorce is over the children. Something to do with the children. And those who aren't from blended families don't understand that. But those who come from blended families know exactly what I'm talking about. But there's more than just that you were defensive. There's something I always say that sounds so bad to people. And it's just a fact, is you don't have the same, what would be the word? I always say you don't love your stepchildren as much as your biological children.
You don't love them the same.
Okay.
It's different.
Okay.
And I think, and again, that is hard to say. It's hard to admit.
Yeah.
I think what was unique in our situation is having our own together.
Okay, we're getting there. We're
Okay.
going to get to there in a minute. Yeah.
Okay, I'll hold off on that point.
Yeah.
So, but it is true. And I think most people, it's bad to say that, but you love them differently. It doesn't mean that you don't love the other children.
Right.
And people in the situation understand it.
They
From the
do.
outside, it sounds really bad.
They do. So I've said that over the years, and even way before starting the podcast.
So let me,
Okay.
sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
we discussed this before we even got married.
Mm-hmm.
We had this whole conversation, and we're in agreement that this is how we would go into it, knowing these feelings and not getting upset about it.
Yes. Yes. So being honest about that is a big thing. So but it doesn't sound Christian,
No, it doesn't.
does it?
No.
That I love my children more than your children. But I like how you put it. It's not, you love them, you just don't love them the same. So
But on the flip side, the children feel differently about their own parent than they do their step-parent. So,
yeah, that's one of the difficulties for the kids. But so we bring this in and we come to an understanding. Okay, we don't have the same type of love for our non-biological children. Occasionally, I'll have someone in the podcast who say, "I love mine the same," and bless you. But I'm going to say 99% of the people who respond to me saying that on the podcast agree. They just know, and it's okay. And the reason I bring it up is because I want to release you from some guilt. There are a lot of you who feel guilty because you, in your mind and heart, know that you don't have the same love for your stepchildren as you do for your biological children. And so, but you just don't, you think
You
that's,
just can't say that.
no, you can't say it.
Yeah.
But you carry guilt around because you don't know that that's normal. You're not going to feel the same for your non-biological children. It's just not going to be that way. You still love everybody, just not the same as you put it. But that comes with some issues too that I became more aware of as we grew in our family, that that we don't love the same. So jump into where you mentioned a while ago, we had a surprise.
So we had our child together.
Yes.
And I always would look at a situation, let's say our child together and our son would get into an argument, 4 and 8 years old, what kind of argument it is, it's silly, where I would look at the situation and think, in my mind, I love these two the same. These are both my biological children. Mm-hmm. And I was already defensive because when you would look at the situation and try to intervene, I was defensive thinking, well, he doesn't think the same about this one as this one. So that was in my own mind. So I automatically felt like I needed to protect the older one. Mm-hmm. When you may or may not have even been doing that. But there were times I felt like, well, he's automatically going to take his side or feel the need to protect him. Mm-hmm. And so it did cause some issues, and probably a lot of them that I shoved under the rug that you didn't even hear about. Mm-hmm. And probably caused resentment that came up later in a different argument or whatever. But we were able to get through it and talk through it eventually.
Oh, I have a question. I haven't thought about this. So does that mean when we were going through, or when you were thinking maybe I was protecting our child together, both of our biological, I was protecting him a little bit over your son, my stepson, and in your mind you felt that way and you said you buried that, but didn't say anything? Wonder how that impacted your relationship with me after that. I'm talking about the next week, 2.
Right. I'm sure I was withdrawn. You probably had no idea why. I may not have even known why. Probably quiet I'm sure there was a series of events over the next week that were related to that. But, we don't really have that relationship where we're yelling at each other or I'm...
No, that's not a thing in our household.
It was probably, I was just quiet.
Yeah. How many of you, I wonder, out there listening, have a spouse who has to think about it? That's not the word you use. Process. How many of you have a spouse who needs to process things before they can talk about it? Drives me crazy. So my wife, if I'm the one, if we have an issue, let's fix it. Okay? That's me. We need to settle this right now. Well, she can't. True?
True.
And for a long time, it was very frustrating. I think I finally came to grips with the fact that she's just different that way. But she's the processor. Do y'all know what I'm talking about out there? I want to fix it now. I want to talk about it right now. I don't want to talk about it later. I want to talk about it right now. And you're like, I can't talk about it right now. So I'm like in prison until you decide you want to talk about it.
Well, as opposed to being like a knee-jerk reactor or saying things I might regret, when I literally try to look at things from both sides. And so I need some time to go, okay, Deana, are you overreacting? How is he really thinking about this? And so that's part of my processing, is not just initially telling you my feelings, because I'm like, I might regret what I say. So I need to think through this.
So maybe it's good you didn't tell me what came to your mind first.
Yes. That's why we lasted 16 years.
Okay. So, all right. Well, we've made it through that. I've come to accept that, but I'm still like, I wish we could just talk about something now, because I want it fixed now. I don't want to feel like there's something wrong, right?
I can understand that.
Yeah, but we're different.
We are.
We're different. So the children issue is a real issue. I told you in our podcast, if you go back and look at some of the first podcasts a year and a half ago, that one of the lessons that I learned from you, and I'll give you credit here that you were very patient when you have something in your blended family with your spouse that you think they're doing, maybe even the maybe something towards your child that's their stepchild. How you talk to them about this is so important. How you say it to them. If you say it out of anger, if you say it pointing a finger, they're not gonna respond well. But if you say it lovingly and just to make you aware of this, so that's what you did. And I remember an occasion. I've shared this on the podcast before. You don't listen to the podcast, do you? So you probably haven't heard this.
I listened to it. I might have missed this one.
I'm just kidding. So the when our oldest son, I'm not calling names, our oldest son, which is my stepson, your son, biological son, and then our biological son, I had asked my son, our biological son, together to do something, and when I asked your son,
It's hard not to say the name.
I know
I
later,
did hear this.
okay. Later, I asked him something, but I used a different tone, right? I used a different tone, and then you made me aware of that. But you did it in a way where it was just like, you may not know that you're doing this, but you're using a different tone. And by the way, I just felt this. A lot of people we're helping right now because they are right there. They're like, yes, yes. So you came to me and said, you may not be aware of this, but when you ask our son together to do this, you use this tone. But when you ask, you use this tone. And it's hard sometimes for a kid to respond to this tone. And you probably don't remember what I said on the podcast, but I was so embarrassed because I genuinely didn't realize I was doing that. I didn't catch that. I was so thankful later that you made me aware of it, but the way you did it was helpful. And because I was embarrassed, because I felt like that's not fair. Well, I don't want to be like that. So I learned a lot about that. So there are the issues that are going to come up, and how you address them and the tone you address them. You may need to make each other aware of something they're not aware of, but how you do it makes the world a difference. So I'm so thankful that you did it like you did it. You remember?
I do, and it probably took practice for me to get there. Because I think it's the normal knee-jerk reaction of a parent to protect their child and say something immediately in front of everyone. Mm-hmm. So learning, and maybe we had those moments. I don't remember every little thing, but learning to control how you're feeling and address it in a way that you can talk through it and it not affect the kids. Because our older son may or may not have even noticed.
Right.
If I made a deal of it right there in front of him, he would have.
Sure.
And maybe he did notice, but he also noticed the difference in how we corrected that or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things, just by way of our listeners here, would be helpful is that when we were, as we walked through this, one of the things we came to an agreement really quick is that any issues we had, we were not going to have these issues in front of the kids. Now that's just marriage and family in general, but especially in a blended family, when you're trying to create a relationship with your stepchildren, you can't have that. We may not even be here 16 years, I don't know, had you addressed this differently and responded to this, what you were feeling inside in front of the kids, and we created that division with our whole family. That's what it does when you blow up with the kids there.
True, but I do think that's repairable if you acknowledge it's happening and correct it.
Yeah.
So that's just to say to the listeners that if that is happening and your normal reaction is to blow up, just be cognizant of that and find a different way to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did those things in private. Yeah. Dealt with those things, walked through those things, and tried to do them in a Christian way.
It's
But
hard to be Christian sometimes.
I know. Sometimes I don't want to be Christian. Sometimes I don't want to respond in the Christian way, and especially with a pastoral background, you have to always be Christian.
I do expect more of you than from me.
What?
I'm kidding.
That's a little unfair,
I know.
but it's probably true.
You are better than me, though. So
Oh, seriously.
it's true.
In what way?
Well, that's a different podcast.
If I'm better than you, I wanted to hear it.
Oh, well, we don't need to inflate your ego right now.
Okay.
Okay.
I was fine with it. So our stickiest issue, that was the question, and for sure it's the children. And we also, is a great thing, we had a grandchild who was same age as our kids, as our two sons, who we got to have around a lot. So he's being raised at the same time we're raising ours. So that's a huge blessing. They're all like best friends. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But all right, let's go to another issue. We can't say a lot about this one, but let's at least address it. Maybe for me, the stickiest issue wasn't children, because mine were already out of the household. No, wait a minute. I got to say something else about children before I leave and go to this, okay?
Okay.
Then we had our little surprise that we weren't expecting, but God blessed us because children are a blessing from the Lord. And so we had our little surprise. So now we have his, hers, and now we have an ours. How many of you out there have brought an our child into the family? So I have a lot to say about that, but I'm not going to go there. You tell me, how did that change the dynamic?
Well, I think it made it more cohesive, made it easier for us to just not give up when there were hard times.
So true.
And I love to watch your children, my children, and how they love him.
Yeah.
It's so special.
Yeah. Yeah. It has been a game changer. So I think one of the reasons why, this was a previous podcast, one of the reasons why divorce rate is so high in blended families, because, and again, I'm not trying to say what sounds good, I'm trying to be real, because you don't have the same commitment level oftentimes in a second marriage, third marriage, wherever you are, the commitment level is not the same. So it's easier to get a divorce because you've already done it once. So you would think it wouldn't be, but it is. But when we added a hours to the mix, I felt like that was glue for everybody. That's what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game changer. Now they don't know the difference. None of the kids, they're all brothers and sisters. They're just like, but it made it feel like everybody was the biological child now. Does that make sense?
It does. I agree.
Yeah. So that was a game changer. That was a blessing. Thank the Lord for that. So if you bring hours into, or if you're wondering, okay, I have a child and my spouse has a child and we're thinking about having a child together, should we? Yes. Yes, you should. Go have a child. Have an hours. Bring them in.
Procreate.
Go procreate. Go bring your child together into the world, and it'll be a blessing to everybody. Trust us on this. This was a big deal, and one of the greatest things God's ever done in our lives. Okay, let's go to another direction now. You ready for this one? This one you don't want to talk about too much.
Okay.
This is the ex. The ex.
Which was much more difficult on you than me. I didn't really have an ex in the picture because your kids were raised.
Yes. The ex. So the ex for me is one that I'm not going to say a lot about, just because of all who will be probably hearing this. But exes can be a very difficult thing. So I'm going to throw out a couple of things. When you have an ex, you got to have boundaries for the ex. I probably felt like it was difficult for you to have boundaries for the ex.
I think I was so cognizant of the kids not feeling the X factor or the tension there, even though it's just there, probably in every situation, that I was constantly trying to keep everything smooth in that way. And I mean, to be honest, we didn't have a situation where we talked bad about the ex here.
Oh, no.
I don't feel like they heard bad things about us from him. We did a great job with the co-parenting. And because there was a lot of co-parenting, there was a lot of involvement that you had to endure. That when you have an ex that's not involved at all,
I didn't understand, did I?
maybe that's easier. No, so.
The pressure maybe that you were feeling by having an ex really involved too much. I could just keep going, but I'm not. That may have been maybe the most difficult part for me was the involvement there, and that whole personality. So, yeah. Anything else you want to say on that? I didn't think so. So I have a lot more I want to say on that.
Okay.
I won't.
We can talk off record.
Okay. So we'll move on. But those of you who have that, then fine. I actually had a response in talking on a previous podcast about exes. I actually had someone respond that they are best friends with their ex and their ex's new spouse.
I've heard of this.
And them and their new spouse, and they got and do stuff together all the time. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Well, if they can make it work.
Something's not right.
Well, maybe they had different personalities.
No, something's not right. Something's not right. That's not possible.
Okay, what's your next question?
I don't want to move on.
I know.
This is therapy. I'm getting all this out. I don't get to. So we'll move on. I think one of the things that we've done right, a lot of things we've done right, and we've grown through this so that now we can talk about it to an audience and maybe help you walk through this. We're trying. So you're trying to make your blended family cohesive. You're trying to come together, and you're trying to. So one of the things that I think we've done good is family time and family traditions. You?
I think so. I mean, family time has always been important. So elaborate on that.
Well, like family traditions, so some of you come from strong family traditions. I did too. Maybe in your previous marriage, y'all had something you did with your children. Family tradition. It's really not fair to your new spouse to bring your traditions from your old spouse and household into your new house with your new spouse. It's not fair. You need to create your own traditions. This is a simple one, but just as an example, we started at Christmas time where we read the Christmas story from the book of Luke, and 16 years later, we're still doing that. But now it's one of those traditions where everybody's gathered around before. We have a Christmas just for us and our kids. We have ours with all of my family, with all of your family, but then we have our own Christmas with just our family. And we're all gathered around before we open gifts or anything. They already know and love it. Kids love traditions. Traditions bring security. When you do it over and over and over, it's just like bedtime. If you have a bedtime routine that you do over and over every night, that's security to your kids. They love that. So family traditions, that was one. The Christmas story that we still do and they all love and they all know we're going to do it. And somehow, for some reason, when we read that, there's always something funny that comes up, and we laugh through it. But it's always fun.
It is. And then we always took a little trip after Christmas and spent a few days together.
Yes. You mean a road trip?
Yes, a road trip.
Yes.
We would go to Northwest Arkansas
Yes.
and hang out. We had a
Yes.
lot of things. Yes.
Yes. So those little family traditions. So I don't know what your family traditions are. Let me encourage you with your blended family, create some, if you've not done it, create some family traditions. It'll be great for your house. They'll love it. And again, it gives them security. So let's go a different direction. I don't even think I mentioned this to you before. When I was throwing out questions for you to think about. So you haven't thought about this one? I have.
Okay.
That's
Seems unfair,
but it's my advantage.
home court advantage.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's my podcast. I get to ask you stuff you haven't. So here we go. The question is tell me about your relationship with my kids.
So, am I allowed to mention age differences? Or
You're adults. Closer to your age.
Yeah.
Not your age.
They're closer to my age than your age.
Yes, I'm trying to do math in my head, and I don't do math in public. But is that
Okay.
right?
So anyway, when they came into my life, they were in their 20s, adults.
Yeah.
And so it's been
And
more,
she was in her 20s. I'm that guy. That is not true.
I was in my 30s. So anyway,
Now you just told, because we told her about it. No, that's not true. Okay, go ahead.
I didn't say where in my 30s. Anyway, when they came into my life, it was more like a friendship. I wasn't like a stepmom. Like,
Right.
I didn't raise them.
Right.
And the oldest already had a grandbaby.
Mm-hmm.
And then later we were blessed with another grandbaby with the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And so just going through that with them, the excitement of having adult children, which I didn't have. I had little ones. So it was more like it was my friends having babies. And yeah, it was just different.
Yeah, that's a whole different dynamic. So me with your children, we were still raising them. You with my children, there was no parental or step parent, like you said. I would tell you as a dad with my daughters, because they were already out of the house, so you stepped into a friendship level, never into a parental level, to a friendship level, was so cool for me that you all became friends and still very, very close.
We have a whole text feed that you're not privy to.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Just don't read it if I pass away. Just delete that. I'll have one of them do it.
Are you talking about me?
No, not necessarily.
They like to do that. They like to say, Dad, yeah, we know.
They like to give you a hard time.
Do you really have a text feed?
We have a text feed. It's a lot of inappropriate memes and videos. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so she's led my daughters down this. No, they were already there. So, yes. So you three get to be inappropriate together.
Yes.
And
It's so freeing.
So you have two people on your team now.
I do.
That are, and what's funny is I know that piece of it. I didn't know y'all had the private text feed. I'm going to create a private text feed. So you have this private text feed. This inappropriate together. What's funny is when my daughters, of course, I'm their dad, right? So they're not going to do this inappropriate stuff in front of me.
Plus, you were the pastor.
The pastor.
Yeah.
Yes. That they will do with you. Mm-hmm. I actually, to be truthful, I think that's hilarious. I think it's funny. And I kind of play the role. Mm-hmm, so when my kids are here, and they live close, but when they're here especially for holidays or whatever, they want to sometimes go there with you, but Dad's here, so it's controlled a little bit.
A little subdued. Yeah.
A little subdued. You try to get it off track. and
I try to stir it up.
you try to stir it up, and they laugh and maybe go there a little bit, but they're a little subdued because Dad's in the room, and I'm just playing the role. Dad's here. You can't say that, but it's fun. It's fun. So if you are entering a blended family and you have adult kids, enjoy that. Become their friend. Oh, by the way, just by way of helping on the blended family world, if you are a step parent, your number one job is not to discipline. It's not your role as the step parent. You don't discipline your non-biological children. Their parent does that. Your first role is to be their friend. That's your first role. So take on that role. Be their friend. And so you've taken that role greatly. To them, that's not their background where you could be inappropriate. I know they were being inappropriate when they weren't around their parents. But now they get to be inappropriate with their stepmom. So y'all have fun together.
We do have fun.
So I actually know y'all do that. So you're not hiding that from me if you think you are.
Okay, that's a relief.
Yeah. So I know that you guys are there. I didn't know that so much about them, but I know it about you.
Knew what about me?
Well, that you like being inappropriate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. You like that shock factor where you just say something and because of who I am shocked. Even 16 years later, I'm like, you just
But I've
said
been
that?
really good today.
You what?
I've been really good today.
I know.
Okay.
I know. Good. We're all grateful. No, some of you out there are saying, don't. Say something. Cause shock in him. No, let's not. So the relationship with older children, that's a good thing. So we're going to get toward the end of this, but I want to ask you another question that I've written down is how did you handle it? Because there's a non-negotiable in all families and in blended families, and it's this: respect. Respect. That's disrespect is not tolerated. We've talked about this. We didn't have to learn this because that's how we were raised. Disrespect was not tolerated. So in our family, disrespect is not tolerated. So your children, my children already knew that respect was a must. They could not be disrespectful. But it doesn't mean that sometimes, in this case, your children may feel something about me that bothers them, and they come to you privately. Well, this is a tightrope because we're trying to keep cohesiveness in the family, and they're coming to you privately about me. And that's one of the great things that I'm grateful for with you is how you handle that. But talk about that. What do you do when your kids come to you privately about their step parent? How do you handle that?
So I want to take a step back and talk about the respect piece first.
Okay.
It does help when you bring kids into a blended family that have already been taught respect, period, of adults, of people, of their teachers, parents. And I feel like we both did that with our kids going in. That wasn't a challenge. But for some families, it is. You know, their kids don't even respect them. So they bring them into the blended family, and then you're demanding respect of a step parent. And it's just, and then I think too, if a step parent comes in and they try to be authoritative without the relationship and start demanding respect, you have a whole issue, which we didn't have any of that, thank goodness. I will say my son is like me. He has to process and doesn't tell his feelings and doesn't talk. And so never once did he come to me and say, Jim hurt my feelings or Jim said this. Never once did I get anything from him. My daughter, who is everything she feels, you hear, which I love. There's no hidden agenda there. We know how she feels.
Yes.
And most of the stuff we went through with her was when she was a teenager, and teenagers are doing teenager things.
Sure.
And it still was never a Jim said this to me or Jim did this to me.
Right.
But if we had any sidebar conversations, I would try to let her know that your heart's in the right place. But I don't really recall her coming to me complaining about you. I mean, if she had an issue and stomped up to her room, which I don't even really recall that, but I know if that did happen, or she had to go blow off steam because she didn't like something, one of your rules or whatever, which is a teenage daughter and a dad thing, period. I don't recall her coming to me wanting me to change it, or I would just give her time to process her feelings. And
I remember once when you weren't here, and I was asking our son, your son, to do something, and maybe he forgot or whatever, and so I asked him again in a little bit, maybe use the tone or whatever, but I'm going to say it this way, when you got home, I heard her, when you went upstairs, I heard her, quote, tell on me.
her telling you about our son?
About getting onto him.
Okay.
You're probably not even
I
recalling
don't even
this.
recall this. Yeah.
Yeah. So kids will do that. That's the reason I bring it up. You handled it in a way where wasn't an issue, but you better believe that your children, if they can get in between the two of you, they'll do it. They'll do it. They're little sinners. But they'll do that with both parents being biological
100%.
parents too. If they can get in between you and get one of you on their side, but multiply that in a blended family. If one of our children felt like they could get in between you and me, they would have done it. And it happens so often. Why? Because their parent allows it. That's why it happens. Don't be surprised that a child's going to do it. They're going to do it, but the parent allowing it is the real problem. Not that the kid tried. You deal with that. But if you allow them and you start having private conversations about your spouse, that's disaster. But you didn't allow that, so it never went there. But it was probably okay if she felt like there was an issue she had with me and she came to you. That's still okay, respectfully, don't you think?
I think they're allowed to share their feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. So, last thing, unless you have something you want to bring up. Last thing. I think there are, in blended families, or even when you've been divorced and remarried, you drag with you some insecurities because you've been hurt, you've been through something difficult like that. Sometimes you drag some insecurities. Do you feel anything stand out at all? Do you bring any insecurities?
I think for me, when I went through my divorce, I wouldn't say I was financially self-sufficient. I was working a little bit, but wasn't really making enough to just go out on my own and survive.
Uh-huh.
So I felt the need to reinvent myself, ramp up my career, all of that with 2 young children.
Mm.
So I brought that into our marriage, in that I always wanted to be able to be financially self-sufficient in case this didn't work.
Yeah.
So I had my guardrails up, and was definitely like, I will never be in that position again. And you were here to be my security, and you would have loved for me to stay home and not stress about that. But I came into the marriage feeling that pressure.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I brought in on an insecurity, if you call that.
Yeah. It's actually normal when you've been through that, and then you're kind of left out there and you're like, how am I going to survive? And then you start making money. Then I heard someone say the other day that who had been through that, and then they had to start over and start making money, and the difficulty of that for a woman on her own, tough with 2 kids, and that's it, start earning a living on your own, and you've used to 2 incomes and all of that, that you have some walls coming in. I'm not going to be there again. But the downside to that is that you don't give your whole self to your spouse. So one of the things which I just thought of that we did from day one is we didn't separate our money. We didn't separate accounts. We didn't do all of that. Even though you may have felt that insecurity, we still, on day one, we had one checking account. Once we just, it was all ours. We didn't even consider doing it differently.
No, and I remember moving into your house, and you were like, "Here's the checkbook. Go decorate. Make it yours."
Yeah. Where is that checkbook?
We've spent it.
I used to have a checkbook. So, anyways, that's okay. That's your spiritual gift.
It is. I admit.
Oh, last thing. If you want to have a real successful blended family, there's one other piece you have to add to the family. You know what it is? Do you know what it is? Does the camera pick up what's beside you at all? So there's this dog sitting next to her who now is the part of the glue that holds the family together. So when everybody comes home, this is the first thing they see, including you.
It's like therapy.
Is it?
Yes, it's my therapy
Yes.
greeting.
So I wait in line for the dog to get his time. Then am that back there somewhere. So
I'm glad you understand the assignment.
okay. So all right. So I've been assigned. We'll use your word. I've been assigned to behind the dog thing. No, add a dog, not a cat. Cats are demons in disguise. Don't bring your cat. It's just a dog. And if you're going to get offended because I said that about cats, that's that website again, right? I don't give a rip.com. So anyways, throw the dog in the mix, and that'll also be good. Everybody can rally around the dog. The dog seems to bring everybody together too. So that would be that. Thanks for joining me.
You bet.
Wow.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think people are going to have fun when they watch this. They're going to see a little bit of our story and know more about us. I'll be curious to see what everyone thinks that we know personally. You excited about that or not?
It feels very vulnerable.
You don't like that.
We'll see. We'll see how I feel about this after I process.
Oh, Lord. Let me process this for a week, then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'll hang
We'll
on
see
to
if
it.
I'm a guest again.
No, as soon as this is over, I'm going to ask you how you feel about doing this.
Okay. Give me next week.
Okay. Anyways, thanks everyone for joining us. Back to Faith Influencer Jim Cunningham and my wonderful, beautiful, love of my life guest, my wife. We will see you next time.